Howdy, everybody. My name is Grant. I'm here with Team Evo. I'm joined by three of my team members. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yep. Nick here, playing Fiends with Ryzeal, the best deck in the room. So,
I'm Noah. I'm currently between decks after playing Snake Eyes like since it came out, and I'm pivoting to the equally meta viable heroes probably.
Noah's currently being floodgated by law school.
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
I am Eli. I am Dragonlink Crystron Man. I have one deck, and now it's two decks.
Wasn't it three decks? Didn't you play
Ubel's
Ubel
not
for a
real.
little bit? Ubel sucked.
Ubel's not real. We don't have to discuss Ubel.
Okay,
He just
that was-
almost day 2'd Nats with it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So we're here from Team Evo. We're gonna have a little talk about the Suda, the releases that are in there. We're gonna talk about some other topics. This is a podcast that we are starting. I hate when episodes of a podcast just go like it's day one and we're just gonna talk about some day one stuff, like how we're just gonna jump into it. I don't care. My name is Grant. So I play Malice right now, Bestial Malice specifically. So with the Suda release, we are going to go ahead and jump into the cover archetype. Noah, tell us about the heroes.
All right, the heroes got a couple of new cards. I think. Oh, I should have checked how many beforehand. I think six or seven? Six or seven new cards. All of which you can kind of justify playing. The heroes are in a really frustrating spot right now where they've just got every problem a rogue deck can have. Like, not fantastic at going second, can't play around, like, very. If your opponent knows what they're doing, they can kind of hand trap you out. And these cards do fix that a little bit because, like, Evil Assault lets you play through kind of single stop hand traps, but the deck still dies to every lingering floodgate. I'm probably going to be playing Baguska just to deal with getting either Fuad or Shiftered or Lancia'd or Drolled.
I thought you were gonna say it's got the issue of being bad.
Nah, it's so close. And
Yeah.
these cards almost do a lot of cool things, but unfortunately, for those who don't know, the gimmick of the evil heroes specifically is that they all have to be summoned with Dark Fusion. And that could be a real problem. Like, for example, these new cards play around Super Poly. There's one, Infernal Rider directly sets Super Poly from your deck. But it also has the stipulation that you're locked into heroes and you can special summon guys with Dark Fusion without Dark Fusion. But that means you have to go into Infernal Rider, and it requires you banish 4 other cards before you could like even use Super Poly, for example, going second. And Infernal Rider as just a level 6 guy who doesn't really do anything except add Dark Fusion is not,
Does it add Dark Fusion or a dark card that also counts as Dark Fusion?
Infernal Rider specifically adds Dark Fusion specifically.
That's
Dustin,
unfortunate.
yeah, exactly, right? But yeah, it's just so frustrating because, like, take Doom Prism for example. You could also have some really cool stuff with, like, if you could somehow summon it on your opponent's turn, say with later support. It could use its effect on your opponent's turn, mill a hero, have it count as Neos, and that's a Super Poly thing, which seems like the deck is what the deck is trying to do. Except it's an ignition, not an on summon, even though the send for cost is really nice. It's just so close. And it's been really frustrating trying to figure all of that out.
that's Heroes playability across its time frame. Heroes has like never been the best deck in the room. It's always been like fringe rogue playable or like tier 1.25 like
Yeah.
playable in general.
All right,
Yeah,
so someone
that's-
hopped in right there. Hi, JP.
Hello.
I'm gonna keep this in. This seems very funny to me.
Sure.
JP is also playing Heroes.
Oh, I forgot that we're doing a podcast. Whoopsie.
No, you're good. We just finished my part of the heroes section. Essentially, my the short of it is they just need to make them a little better.
Clearly, they have not made enough hero support at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just need more hero support. Though genuinely, the guy that comes out, what is it? Vicious Claws is
Vicious
I think
Claw
the
that comes
translation
out
we
in-
have now.
Info, it's gonna go crazy.
It's gonna go info. No, it's in Allen at this.
Yes, not info. That's already out.
Clearly, it's the next one that's gonna do it for the archetype. I
Like,
promise.
it's actually really, really good.
Listen, I've been saying this about every Sequizant illusion card that gets released.
No, okay, but that's different. You see,
How is that
all of the
different?
cards that are okay. So all of the cards that are currently, they're like, oh, we're going to get you to new fusions. That's cool, but that's kind of what Hero's always been doing.
They can always go to-
This one sets up a lot. Vicious Claw sets up a lot more of a layered interaction because A, you can send it off Fusion Destiny to get DPE. That's really easy access. It's B, it's interaction in the graveyard. Like, all of Hero's interaction is mostly on the board, and like even branching out into Favorite Contact, Dark Supremacy, and setting Super Poly, that only branches it to the back row. So yeah, I guess we don't lose to Raigeki now, but like, Lightning Storm still forces out pretty much all of your plays. Whereas this is a guy in your graveyard that, whether you have interaction or not, they're probably popping something, so that like lets you trigger and have a non-targeting pop, which is something. And also, it's just a free special, which Hero doesn't really have outside of Ferris and bad cards. Although I will say that is what's very nice about Evil Assault is it, helps a lot with getting more bodies if you're cut off of like specific lines.
Yeah, Heroes as a deck is like just not. Like, I have a deep love for the deck and like what Hero's done across its era, but like the best thing Hero's ever done is like we look back at time as like Hero Beat or like the Alias Beatdown decks, are, like one of the best like representations that it's ever had. Or you look at like Totally Heroes, and that was in 2016. And those decks, like, even though they were good and very playable, they were never like the deck to play in the room. It's very weird. And I think the new sport does a lot. I think it opens you up for different stuff. And you and JP had even discussed looking at doing a Fiendsmith brew with all of the Evil Hero versions, because they're all fiends. So there's a lot of options there. If you just say, I'm just not going to play into the stuff that Hero locks me, so I'm going to cut Ferris, I'm going to cut Evil Assault, I'm going to cut all the generic stuff that locks you, and just play anything that's generically good.
What you could also do is you could forego the hero cards.
Just
just
play
keep the good
Fiendsmith, yeah.
ones. And there are these wonderful little illusion monsters that, if you make two of them together.
I've been trying to figure out if there is just a small Chimera engine you can put in, because the hero locking sucks mostly. Like, again, I'm playing Baguska probably just because those shut you down. The lingering floodgates shut you down so thoroughly that you really don't have any plays. Not any, but if you're playing really hard into Fua, Shifter just kills you. But like, it stops you early enough to where those don't matter. But if theoretically they got support to play around those cards,
it would be so good.
well, and you'd be hero locked by the time you could pivot. So you'd need a lot of support to kind of dump in and.
But like Hero itself, if you're playing it just straight as an archetype, if there is something that you can like play to play around those floodgates. I know you, Noah, have been trying to lab this through your brain for the last week at least, like how to play around Shifter, how to play all around all this stuff. And there's just nothing right now. If we got that, I legitimately think Hero could be a tiered strategy.
You're
That's
very
a bold
optimistic.
claim.
I really, really do though. Like the
you're
stuff that we
right.
have is just so crazy.
But it's also outable,
Yeah, there's interactions. It's not. I mean, yes, it is kind of Floodgate Turbo at some points. Plasma is definitely a Floodgate, but DPE is such a cool card. If you think about it, it's recurring abilities as well as popping. It's so cool. Think people have done stupid stuff with it, with the Scythe Lock and Scythe or Plasma DPE. That's super boring. If you can make that if you can see if you can cut the Plasma and make it a fun interactive deck, have those abilities to get around Shifter where you're not just hosed by it, I think it'd be super, super cool.
The only issue that you run into is all the hero sport has been developed in such a way where it's a build a board mentality for Hero, where as a deck there's Hero has a lot of cool tools that facilitate a gameplay where you don't really have to do that, but the only way Hero's gonna win is by building a board, because that's just how their pieces fully fit together.
No, I
Unfortunately
completely
speaking.
agree. And that is something that's been nice about a lot of the more recent support. I don't know, when did Darklock came out? Before 2012?
Darklock came out in the structure deck,
Yeah,
whenever
it's
that was.
2011, 2012 era.
Yeah, so they haven't been doing, at least from what I've
no,
seen, a ton of
2014.
a ton of
2014.
floodgates, which has been very nice. But you can't really design hero support outside of the current iteration of Hero unless you just go silly with it. I can't really think of a way that you designed like even Fusion Destiny where it's like locks you into dark heroes, so it's like, oh, they're maybe trying to pivot you towards Destiny, like Destiny specifically. It's like, oh no, this is just a thing you can work around with all of Heroes' existing tools.
I wish they would make more like masked heroes. I don't like heroes. I think they're super annoying, but I like the masked heroes. They're cool.
Heroes is just a favorite archetype. It's going to develop and change over the course of time, and it really is just not the same deck anymore, and it probably will never it'll just never be able to do what it's done previously, and it will just continue to change.
Yeah, I just wish it would change a little faster because it seems like a lot of these cards, like especially like Toxic Bubble and setting up Super Poly, so you can fuse your. Essentially, what it functions as now is you fuse your Shining Neos Wingman into Neos Lord. They're just like cherries on top of a deck that's very cherry heavy. I don't know how else to put it.
I like the idea of a deck being cherry heavy.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, and look, if you full combo, you also get Super Poly into Neos Lord, and you take 2 of their guys. Mm-hmm. I do think Dark Supremacy is very nice, though. It's, for those who don't know, that's the trap that negates cards on the field up to as many spells that mention Dark Fusion in your graveyard. So through the course of the combo, most of the time, that's never more than, if you're playing Dark Contact 3, that's another thing. Why they keep making fusion spells, and it's real, like... If you get, at least in my opinion, if you get to the point where you are like using Dark Contact, that probably means they haven't broken your first full board, and it doesn't really help you play around any of the floodgates, as well as a like shuffle from Banished would make you think that it would, and it's just real frustrating. It's so close. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe down in the comments below, you guys can tell me what I'm missing and how Hero is actually broken, but.
Noah's actually just doing the engagement farming for us. I appreciate that.
Remember to like the video.
Sometimes you just have to have someone that goes like, engagement.
Yeah.
You know, what if we just started the artificial beef? I hate hero videos so much. They're
like the combo videos?
Yes, because they all do the fucking... Oh, can I? Sorry.
Yeah, you can swear. It's good.
Okay. Anime's fine. It's cool, I guess. I'm trying to look how to make a good deck. I'm not trying to look at a PNG of the Supreme King or the voice lines of Japanese voice actor for, what's his name, Aster Phoenix, whenever a certain card is activated. And also, the amount of called buys that are drawn in those videos is a little... Like, I get that you don't want to show the deck losing, but, like, come on, man.
Is this like you got a main 3 crossout kind of deck?
That's a really good question. I don't...
This deck can't play non-engine. Why the hell is it going to use crossout?
Hey, I'm at 21 non-engine in my current build right now, so let's not.
Yeah,
how many hero cards are you actually playing? Is that the Fiendsmith version?
No, Fiendsmith version. Because I feel like I've only seen this in a couple of videos. I think it warrants explaining. I don't think it's going to be a real deck. Funny enough, Vicious Claws would do wonders in that deck, but you essentially just play. You mentioned taking out like all the things that hero locks you, but you just play like strictly most of the new evil hero stuff, and then Fiendsmith, you area leader, dump Necrom, use that, get your whole combo going. And there's a pretty like just tight insular evil hero line you can do that essentially ends on Dark Supremacy and Super Poly, and they're all like Infernal Rider and the Inferno Wing Retrain are both level 6 fiends, so it's real easy to make Caesar. People have been playing the Unchained cards, the same Unchained cards that you'd be playing in Fiend Link, so it's like just Charvara, the what is it? Soul is the one that specials back, and then Soul of Rage and Yama. And it seems pretty cool, but it just seems like the 4th best Fiendsmith deck, and I think we're getting Fiendsmith hits before we get anything that goes with the Fiendsmith hits. So that's really disappointing, because it is a really cool deck that I'd like to see explored and optimized. But again, as Grant said, I'm floodgated by law school, and I haven't really had the time to test or put in the work with it.
All right, Evo heads, I have to get out of here.
Sorry, he came on just to talk about heroes and left.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody.
I gotta go. Keep evolving, Evo people.
That's what Evo stands for.
What is that? Is that our thing?
Yeah, that's our thing.
That's our thing. Keep evolving.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
I got
That's
you.
That's really stupid. I like it.
Like, comment, subscribe. Hero is gonna be meta in 5 years. Calling it.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, we can talk about the good cards being released in Suda now.
Do you want to talk about Malice stuff, or do you want me to talk about Ryzeal
You
options?
you can start with Ryzeal, I think.
Okay, so the big card of Suda is like the only good card of the
The
set.
only
People
good
might
card.
say is Eclipse Twins. This card like revolutionizes how the end boards can develop for Ryzeal. In 80% of cases, like X now, if you normally speaking, if you were playing Ryzeal and you were going into a board, you would always dump Aggregator. But now going first, you have a very good card to dump that's actually meaningful later on in the game. So you can dump Twins and then attach it to Detonator when you make Detonator, and then if they out Detonator, now Detonator comes right back. And now this is when we're going to see, going into the next format, cards like Ultimate Slayer are going to see a lot more playability, because instead of putting Detonator in Graveyard, they're going to put it back in the extra deck so they can't revive it. There's a lot of like different like meta game shifts that might happen because of that, but moving forward, like that card is insane. Every Ryzeal deck will be playing it. Pierre will probably play 2. The Fiendsmith version will play 1. They'll find space to put it in, and then like the Mitsurugi Ryzeal deck that people have been playing around with, that deck will play 2 for sure, because I think that deck uses Twins the best out of all these different versions that people look at and talk about.
The
So,
Mitsurugi version, that is.
yeah.
Is there a reason that one uses it better, or is it just?
It just because it makes it turn 1. The other decks just can't consistently make they can make Twins turn 1, but it doesn't do anything for them. Like in Pure, what am I reviving? I'm reviving Duodrive that's already searched, or I'm reviving a Detonator that didn't do anything. It just isn't sufficient or doesn't do anything. Where in Mitsurugi, it like actively pushes your like game plan forward by reviving like King of the Fair Limbs, which nets you another search. Which then like if you open up the ritual spell and you resolve King of the Fair Limbs twice, like that alone does your entire setup for the ritual stuff.
Gotcha. I know that like Fiendsmith is like not like it's good in the Fiendsmith deck, but it's not like a card that really shines in the Fiendsmith version.
I think people are underestimating how good it is. I think people what ends up happening in the Fiendsmith version more often than not is if you go first and you like choose to like not respect interaction and you make Duodrive and you go Duodrive effect and they stop it, you're like, okay, that's fine. Continue playing, get to Detonator and all that jazz. And now on turn 3, X is now a bomb card. Because now you go, okay, X dump Eclipse Twins, and now Eclipse Twins bring back Duodrive, and now Duodrive's live again. And I think that's a big threat that people don't really think about, because when they normally right now, if you're playing into the deck and you out Duodrive and you stopped it, they're not getting it again.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like the deck has an opportunity to like force you to out it again and stop it again. And if you don't have to stop, then they get to like kind of win the game.
That's really interesting. Do you think that that's going to facilitate? Because I know the Ryzeal board. Well, I guess I don't know what the Mitsugiri, Mitsurugi. I'm trying not to say Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
Yes, the Mitsubishi cards. I don't know what interaction they put up on their own, but I know one of the big issues that like necessitated Fiendsmith, other than the bricking, was that the turn 1 board was just so breakable. Do you see that? Like, obviously, because it's summoning from graveyard, we're going to see just like a bestial shift. But do you see any like more broad, like non-engine shifts that could kind of benefit other decks?
There's things that are most likely, like these cards, like specifically Eclipse Twin, like isn't gonna like the shift the metagame discussion on what people are gonna side deck or play, because people are already playing a high Bestial count to beat Fiendsmith cards, and those cards that the Bestials already beat Eclipse Twins in general because of how it operates. Because of the weird ruling for Eclipse Twin is it has to be able to summon either target in the graveyard. So if you have 2 rank 4s and one's a dark and one's a water or whatever, and you want to summon the light one, if they banish the water one, nothing happens.
Interesting. That's been like confirmed for the TCG. That's not just a weird like OCG ruling thing that people are speculating is coming here.
No, that's truly how it works. They have to be able to. Both of them have to be a valid summon target, and when it resolves, you pick. You don't pick when you choose the 2 targets.
Interesting. Okay. Well, forgive me. As a good podcaster, I've definitely read all of these cards.
No, that's totally fine. But I think cards are really good for that reason. And then going forward, I'm just gonna talk about the Mitsurugi cards here because it's like relevant for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But the Mitsurugi cards in general, they do a similar thing that the Fiendsmith cards are offering Ryzeal. So Ryzeal as a deck has ways to build in its own follow-up into the following turns. So by doing so, you're lowering the power of your end board. And the issue with the Ryzeal is, it's like you just said, the end board itself is very breakable. It's like Detonator Pass is not that threatening if they have an out for it. But if I go for a setup where I end up Detonate Dweller Pass but I have no follow-up, that's a lot better if I can win the game there. But like these other engines like Fiendsmith and Mitsurugi are saying, okay, you're not gonna have follow up with the Ryzeal stuff inherently speaking, but the Mitsurugi stuff or the Fiends with the cards are gonna be the follow up on the next turn that will help you like grind for the rest of the game and win.
Mhm.
That's the entire idea. Generally speaking, the Mitsurugi version plays less Ryzeal cards than the Fiends with the version does. It opts to use the ritual stuff more so than the Ryzeal stuff in general.
So we're going to see a meta essentially what I'd be comfortable predicting would be just that, Ryzeal's at the top, win whatever forms, and that I don't know. How is the matchup between all of the different Ryzeal variants? Because when are we? What's the Galaxy card that people are using in the OCG? Is that coming out this set?
No,
Galaxy.
that's in March. That's a Tachyon.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
so pure. Well, I don't know. Pure with Eclipse Twins actually
So
happens.
the order in which the decks that are playable, you have Fiends with Ryzeal that does not play a high Bestial count or like Lubellions. That's the best one. Next
Mhm.
one down is the Ryzeal Fiends with Bestial deck that plays Lubellions and Regained. Then you look at the Rinsarugi version, and then you look at Pure.
Okay. How's the matchup between all of those? Is it doable?
I will say Ryzeal mirror matches are very interesting. There's a lot of like nuance to what you can do. I will say a lot of it's going to come down to whoever goes first. If given the option, if they make Dweller, that inherently cuts off like a giant chunk of stuff. Even against Pure, if people don't think making Dweller against Pure is that good. By making Dweller against Pure, you've now made Aggregator and Twins horrible. Like half the reason the deck was like actually kind of good is it could make 3 rank 4s consistently compared to the other decks sometimes. But then Pure loses its like board breaking potential because now X doesn't break or interact into a board very well.
Yeah, I will say, sorry to pivot back to Hero, but that's a lot of the issue I've been having, like trying to think of like lines under Shifter, sorry, not under Shifter, other lingering floodgates is just like, oh, Baguska's just outed by X dump Aggregator. Like,
Yeah,
there's not really.
It's outed by that. It's outed by any Fiends with the card outs it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's awkward.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, I do think that's like a healthy place for a meta to be in, is where you can't just say, oh, I'm getting floodgated. No, you're getting floodgated. I think that's cool that the, top deck has a way around that. I do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting, at least.
Okay. But the one am I okay to pivot, because I'm genuinely curious. Everybody from what I've been seeing online, there's been a lot of just idea that Malice is going to get pushed out of the format, which is really weird to me.
I like soft agree with this.
See, okay, can you explain why? Because to me it seems like, oh, there's every variant of Ryzeal is now playing graveyard stuff, and the Shifter deck would seem that to be helped by that.
My thought on this is I do soft agree. I don't think it's going to get pushed out, but I think it's going to struggle going second. But it's already not like the best deck going second. It has some rough patches, but it's like fine. The big issue is like I would say there are 3 good versions of Malice and 2 bad. The good versions of Malice are the Striker Malice, the Bestial, and the Fiends with Malice. I think the bad versions are the Kashtira Malice and the Pure Malice.
Okay. But didn't I feel like I saw a video on what's that super cool channel, the Team Evo channel, of a really nice looking guy getting his invite with.
Yeah, you'll notice that I said I think the thumbnail says I got my invite. However, my list is horrible. Don't play it. Which I stand by. That list is awful. I don't know how I did well.
Well, it goes to show you, dear viewer, if you listen to us, you can get your invite with a bad deck too. Take Hero to a regional.
I'll take Hero. Be the change you want to see in the world. Take Hero to a regional. No, so the Striker Malice is my favorite version of Malice right now. However, the gimmick behind Striker is it's 2 bodies. If you want 2 bodies, like a single engage is 2 bodies. Or if you want it to be an out detonator, you can go engage, grab Widow Anchor, and then that is an instantaneous out to detonator, which is really nice when you're like staring down a detonator. The problem is post Suda, Widow Anchor, if they set up the Twins, does not actually out the detonator anymore, because they just go detonator pop itself, Twins put back the detonator, and detonator's a really difficult card for Malice to deal with. Just because like this deck is really bad into removal, like crazy bad. Like if I go Haggard Lizardos and you remove the Haggard, 90% of the time I'm just losing the game. There was one match at the regional where I was in the mirror and I was like, I had 1 non-targeting banish ready to go, and it was like, all right, well I guess I just lose. And then he made Haggard, and I was like, all right, well I guess I just win.
All right, interesting.
So that's the big issue. So I think the Striker Malice version will for sure drop off. I think it's not going to be that good. Fiendsmith Malice, I think, is trying to play the same game as Fiendsmith Ryzeal, but significantly worse at doing so, because if you start with the Malice cards, you can't end up ending on Caesar, because they all lock you into links when they summon themselves back, just because of how the Malice cards work. So I think the Fiendsmith version is like good because the Fiendsmith cards are good, but the side quest is kind of awkward. If you start with the Fiendsmith cards and like have a Dormouse in rotation, it's really good because you can just do Fiendsmith side quest and then you do the Dormouse summon. But the other issue is like the Fiendsmith cards can't find the Malice engine, so it's like it'd be really nice like if we still had Beatrice, because then you can go Beatrice, dump a Malice, make SP, banish the Malice, and now you have a Link 2 plus Dormouse on the field. It's really convenient. But it's kind of an issue otherwise, just in terms of consistency. The version I like the best right now is the Bestial version, because I love Lubellion, but also just because it has the best time dealing with the Ryzeal end board. The Bestials and Shifter just kind of eat the Fiendsmith cards and the Twins for breakfast. Malice just like can't deal with the Detonator very well, and a lot of the ways that we have to deal with Detonator, like Druiswar and Send It, it instantly just comes back if they've set up the Eclipse Twins. So it's just difficult to deal with. That being said, if like Bestial Turbo is like, you know, just like the king in next format, I think Malice is much better at Bestial Turbo than a lot of other decks, just because you can justify playing a lot more of them in your main deck, because like Dormouse plus Magnamud is like FTK essentially, even through like 2 interaction. Oh, I don't like the Cashier cards. I hate them so much. I drew Birth religiously at the regional.
So also, I've heard Malice has a bricking problem. Does the Bestial version, just because it gets you bodies, kind of help with that?
Kind of. If you play Dark the Dark Charmer, then 2 Bestials is full Malice combo. Because you gotta crash a Bestial, or you crash Dark into like Detonator or something. I did this at locals to Sam on Thursday.
How realistic is that? How tight is the Malice extra? I don't know.
So it depends. If you're playing like the Dark Fluid stuff, which I think the Dark Fluid stuff is not that good, so I don't think you should be playing it. But if you are, it is extremely tight. If you are playing like, I guess post-Suda, everyone's gonna be pretty much migrating to like a Bow. And in that case, I think the extract's a little bit looser, but still pretty tight. But I think that Dark is like a near mandatory like inclusion. I think it's super good.
Dark is so free because it's like you steal a body, it's a Link to, and if you have a Malice guy, you just shove into Red Ransom or White Binder, and you just kind of go off.
God forbid you're like playing the mirror and you don't find a name, but you've got a fuck ton of Bestials, and suddenly now you have a name. You can just steal like their Red Ransom, grab a Field Spell, and now you're off to the races. And you got a Link 4 instantly.
Well, I guess you mentioned Bow. How are we feeling about new Appo?
Bow is crazy. Bow is insane. I'm very much looking forward to not pulling it today and trying to get it for the next like 3 weeks. It's good. It's adds a new dimension. I think it just insulates. So there's a lot of hand traps that just kind of like solo most of the Malice end board. Bell is like kind of the big one, where if you bell the on summon effect of Binder, it's really bad for the Malice player because that's all their banishes. You have to have a sufficient number of like ways to banish your own cards to get those interactions back in rotation, because you don't end on them in the field, you end on them in the graveyard. Bow gives you a second way to get those in rotation, and if you've already gone through, like if your Binder goes through, then you can use Bow on either an IP Masquerena or a Nightmare Griffin, depending on which line you want to go for. So it's pretty good. I'm not sure which one of those two specifically is better at the moment. I have a feeling it's the Griffin, because IP essentially just gives you more removal options, and removal is not really something Malice struggles to find. Like I have like 3 pieces of removal like in engine. You know, negation is the kind of the thing that Malice needs to find more desperately, and I think that Griffin it pairs really well when you're trying to break a board with the Fiendsmith and the Ryzeal cards, because like if they start with Engraver and you can like get the Griffin on the field, and then they have to like make Requiem and then put something pointing to the Requiem to activating the effects on the field. They can't go Fiendsmith Send It. If they start Ice, they can Ice Search a guy, and then they have to like make a link to like activate another effect. It's just really awkward for them to really deal with. There's not a clean answer, especially since a lot of them right now are cutting SP.
Really?
Yeah, that's a new development.
I've heard the extra is tight. I did not realize it was like that tight.
Oh, it is that tight.
Listen, I'm trying to think of what card I'm cutting for Twins, and I have a hard time deciding.
So Bow doesn't make it into the Ryzeal extra then?
No,
there's no way.
Okay, interesting.
I think a lot of the Malice end boards are going to start pivoting towards just ending on bow, and if they like you get nibbed, you just tag out the bow. You just kind of leave it, unused on your turn. And then on your opponent's turn, bow brings back Griffin or Binder, depending on if your trap card resolves. Or I guess IP if you want to go for that line instead, and then you just have the regular Malice stuff in the graveyard, as you always have. Now it's also even like I think a Dormouse is a 1-card combo to end on Griffin and all the Malice cards in the graveyard and trap card and bow.
It ends with bow on the board and then has Griffin engraved or revive.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I think I was looking at replays, and I'm having the same issue with replays that like Noah is, where everybody who plays this deck is bad. Because I keep seeing replays and they go bow at the end of the main phase, and they end on IP and Griffin, and I'm like, you are begging, like you are just like, it is so tantalizing to hit you with a rock here.
That is, I don't know. I feel like not something I hear brought up a lot, but I feel like can be a real issue for a lot of people trying to learn a deck or just how to like be better. Maybe this is better suited for a podcast for another day, but like there's so much, especially for rogue decks, there's so much bad out there. There's so much like manure you have to sift through.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a real big issue right now because like I don't know. It's like not a real issue, but because testing a deck is going to be much better than just looking at a combo tutorial and stealing a deck list. But I feel like a lot of combo tutorials will go for the highest ceiling possible to impress the viewer.
Yeah,
and not like a realistic. Because you don't need to go like wombo crazy in Malice. You can just end on like people are playing Terrorites, and I play Terrorites for a little bit. You don't need to end on like 4 billion points of interaction. Just end on like follow up and like a thing to stay alive, and that's gonna get you 90% of the way there.
Yeah, like, and also I feel like the desire to look impressive also hurts what you could be like trying to learn, because I was like trying to find what does hero do under Fua, and every single time they had a Fua, the person either had an Ash in their hand or they had a called by for 5 out of the 7 games that they were there,
Right.
And I don't know. I probably do have the time to test if I really cared about it, but
if you were going to a single event,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't necessarily want to put in all that time, even though, obviously if I wanted to be like really improve at this game, I should obviously put in the time, but it's, I don't know, hard to find it sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem for combo decks specifically. Mid-range I don't think has the same sort of problem.
Yeah.
I think it depends. Like, I when I was playing like race and trying to find like different ideas for like race setups, everybody was trying to do these like high level like combo setups instead of just saying I'm gonna do whatever line makes it so turb resolves. So it's like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, that's why I think you are like one of the best one of the better rescue ace players overall, is just because you're like, okay, Turbulence is a good card. I'm going to make sure that one happens.
Yeah, I beat a lot of people at regionals where it's like, all right, get into a weird scenario. It's like, all right, you don't have any more interaction. I have Turb in hand. So it's like, the game is kind of now we're going to grind, and you're not going to win the grind game. I'm going to. So.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a very important skill to develop too, which, means I should probably get off that damn phone and go play some Yu-Gi-Oh! But like learning not just the best thing to do with your deck, but learning everything it can do and what, is particularly strong about it compared to everything else in the meta is, I think, very important.
I'm going to tell my kids that one day. Get off your phone and go play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I think the hard thing right now, and we were talking with some people at Locals about this, is like, for the last year to year and a half, people have been like almost like trained to realize like you need to win on turn 1. And in this format, I don't think that statement holds true right now. I think more often than not, you're going to win way more games right now by setting yourself up for success by saying, all right, follow up for next turn. I'm going to put just enough interaction on the board so you don't kill me, and then I'm going to beat you down on the next turn, and we're going to play for like 5 or 6 turns. Like, and I think a lot of people have a hard time like coming to realize like that's how you should be playing right now.
Yeah, I think the design philosophy Konami's been going through, and I think the single poster child for this has been Fua, is that, they're trying to change the Yugi Boomer complaint of, oh, they're just going to combo for 25 minutes. And, it is a bit of a Yugi Boomer criticism, but it definitely has a little bit of truth to it. I played Snake Eyes for forever.
They are, in fact, actually going to combo for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I do think that's a healthy way for the game to be going personally. It is definitely an adjustment, though.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's like really nice about the Fiends with cards specifically is they encourage that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, if only they could be a
Be
little bit less money. Then I
if
could
all-
play my fun Fiendsmith Evil Hero deck, and everyone would go, "Oh my God, you can make Caesar with 2 Evil Heroes," and I'll be like, "Yeah."
Yeah, maybe they'll get reprinted in Bonanza. I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening.
Yeah,
That'd
they're
be-
gonna get hit after that though. So it's like
That
Yeah.
that might be true. Listen, we gotta all have our Fiendsmith cores so that when we go back to this format for legacy reasons, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So like off and on, I've been trying to convince people to build Dune decks so I can play Dune format with them.
let's play Agoff. Agoff format's so much
then I
better.
gotta-
Say, I'd fuck with some Agov format. I
Listen,
could go
man.
back to my magnum opus.
If I do AGOF format, then I gotta get like the what's it called? I gotta play Manadium, which I think instant loses to race, or I gotta play the Horus cards in Chimera, which is not not opposed to, but I gotta get the Horus cards in that case.
There's so
What
many
would you
locals
play
that
in
have them.
Dune?
I think that reasoning's dumb. I will say
What?
there's
That means I gotta purchase them. They're like Imseti is like $30.
I don't. If you want to play like Agoff form with someone, I think you could just say, hey, can I borrow your things for like X number of time, but whatever. There's one more deck we have not talked about in Suda. That's half the reason Eli is here, to just enlighten us on why Kristron's insane and going to the moon, in his own words.
Yeah, Eli, if you could tell the people who might not know what Crystron is outside of Halka Fibrax, can you enlighten us a little bit?
Everyone is playing these cards. Billions of people are playing these cards. Trillions will thrive. Everyone is. I've seen in the past couple days like 4 or 5 people pivot to Kristrons. This deck is, in terms of value, I think the best we've ever seen. Like even Tenpai was called a budget deck, and it was still like $130 or so. This deck is like a little less relevant than Tenpai was when it first came out, I think, but it's also like half the cost. It's like the core is $45, and it's because Quarry and Gandrax is $20 and Citri is $15, and those are both one-ofs. It's insane. Like if I feel like for a while we haven't seen like a high tier budget deck other than Tenpai, and we have been given yet another one, and it's truly wonderful. Me personally, huh?
And the cards in Suda are low rarity.
Yeah, they're all. So the main cards that got released are all. What's the word for it? When a card comes out and it supports an old archetype, there's a word everyone uses.
Legacy support.
Legacy.
Legacy support. Yeah, this is the Suda legacy support. So the legacy support for these Sulfador is a level 5 that dumps 2 when summoned. The new continuous spell is a Rhoda for the archetype. The new tuner is probably the most egregious. It basically says if it's on the field and the opponent does anything, you get to summon a guy from deck and then quick synchro. So basically, if you are ever able to get the tuner on field, you are kind of hand trap proof unless they have 2 and use the second one to stop the tuner. The tuner also says pop a synchro and summon 2 from deck, which is very good. And then the synchro gets to add from grave or banish on summon, and also says when it's popped, you get to summon a Crystron from graveyard or banish. So the tuner pops the synchro, and then you get to summon 2 from deck, and then you get to summon 1 from graveyard. So the deck it's really good. There's a lot of 1 cards that end on like 3 or 4 interaction, and it's very hand trap proof. It's kind of it's a pretty mid-range deck, but I think it's very strong. I've seen a lot of top players talking about how it's looking pretty promising. It's gotten tops in the OCG, and I think I imagine it's gonna be pretty good.
How does it
I've seen
deal
people-
with the big lingering floodgates, the D barriers, the shifters,
Yeah, they play pretty well under the mulch armies. You can kind of guy who's only played Dragon Link says kind of like Dragon Link. You're able to stop your combo and just end on a spheres, except in Crystron, it's just stopping your combo and ending on some sort of quick synchro play.
Yeah.
So the mulch armies are kind of,
This is the Chimera approach to playing around Fualos. Is I'll just do it on your turn.
Yeah, it's the same with D-Barrier Lancia, where it's like, obviously these cards are very strong against Crystron, but because the deck naturally has so much follow-up as well, you can, like, under Lancia, the big thing about Lancia is that all the Crystrons need to banish from grave for cost to activate their effect, but you can just sort of set up your grave and then have, like, a wacky amount of follow-up for the next turn. while still setting up like 2-3 interactions.
I'm just gonna interject. The only issue this deck runs into, it feels like, is even though you have lines to play under like these lingering floodgates, is like, let's say like you're going first, your opponent Lancias you, and you're playing against like a Ryzeal. It's like, okay, that's fine. Now they made Dweller, and now you're under another. The issue is like that, like the deck that to be in the best, like Ryzeal being the best deck in the room, says, okay, you beat Lingering Floodgate 1. I'm gonna do it again next turn. I'm gonna do it again next turn. And then at some point, like, it doesn't matter how much follow up and like how much you've set up, because you're just not gonna give you the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, you definitely get owned if you get like turn skip comboed. There's like it's sort of to pass the good deck check nowadays. Like you do get to play a bunch of non-engine too. So the hope is that like you end on 2-ish interactions under something like a Lancia, and then you stop them from skipping your turn again with like an imperm or a droplet or something. But it definitely, like, obviously it just depends on you drawing the non-engine.
Okay, and you said it can play a lot of non-engine. What are those numbers?
It depends on the build. A lot of people are playing the deck pure, and I think if you play it pure, you can probably fit like 18 to 21 non-engine.
Okay, so like the usual amount for a modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck. All right.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you build it. I've seen a lot of people. Pure Crystron will usually run something for consistency, like 3 Tidal or Terror Top Cherubini. And if you play those, then it probably goes down to like 15 to 18 on engine, or you could go above 40 because the deck just plays a decent amount of bricks. But I don't think I've seen anyone do that. The alternative is to play Azamina. I think this is the better version of the deck, but I'm still not really sure. I haven't done that much testing with it. But the Azamina cards synergize really well because all the Crystron want to be in graveyard or don't care if they're in graveyard. The 2/5s don't care if they're in hand or graveyard at all, and all of the 3s actively want to be in graveyard. So like Diabell, pitch, or like if you draw the Deception, you can pitch a Crystron, and it doesn't really do anything. That's also what Tidal is good.
Are there any like locks for the Crystron stuff that would interfere with the Azamina that you have to play around, or I'm just not too familiar with the archetype?
Brief pause. Gerchak showed up in the middle of the recording, and we just forgot to mention it up until this point.
Gerchak, what are you playing this format?
I am playing some form of Ryzeal. I'm hoping to get the Mitsurugi stuff tonight, but right now I'm on Cash Ryzeal, which is actually a lot of fun.
Right. All the good cards machine lock you. The tuner machine locks you once you use the Papa Synchro effect, and the Solfador machine locks you once you summon it by its own effect by popping a Crystron card in field. The thing is that all the Azamina cards, like, you would only ever start with the Azamina cards anyways, and those locks aren't retroactive, so I can't think of any reason why you would ever get that far into the Crystron combo without summoning a Diabell that's been in your hand the whole time.
Gotcha.
Okay, so there's no like in archetype like draw engine or anything like that?
No. Why is that relevant?
I was just thinking like, oh, you go through this synchro like a charge warrior, you draw into Diabell Star, you're already machine locked or something
and then
like
you're
that.
owned.
But
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, it's the opposite, because sometimes, like, again, sometimes you're a little strapped for engine, which is why people are, like, the Terror Top stuff, but without that, sometimes you just don't draw the Crystrons. But, like, if you only draw a Diabell, then you get to draw off the wanted.
Yeah, that engine is pretty good.
Out.
I think it's neat that you make a Cyber Dragon Infinity. That's
That
the
card
reason.
is
That's the
very
real
good.
reason I started looking at the deck.
Another nice thing about that is if people are playing Maximus with Nadir, you can dump Nova and then trigger Nova if you're playing a fusion to summon off it, which is kind of cool.
You can do that?
Really?
Did you not know this, Eli?
No, you did it against me yesterday, and I didn't do it, because I thought Nova says... Hold on. Give me a second.
We're all learning things about Crystron.
Nova
Yeah,
would
that's
send to the
crazy.
graveyard from anywhere in your extra deck, from anywhere. You can summon a
It says it has to
light.
be in your possession. Does that count?
Extra deck counts as possession.
Wait, really?
Oh.
We should do
So
a rolling
so-
episode one of these days.
So yeah, Nick's right. If they Maximus your Nova, you get a free Makaba.
That's awesome. I could have done that so many times yesterday.
And that's why testing, along with talking with your testing group, is very important. And having somebody who's topped multiple regionals in that testing group.
I did not tell Eli. I did not want to get fucking Macabre dropped on me. My hands were so bad last night.
You were just like selectively like, yeah, we're testing. However, comma.
This is why
The
you
first
tell them
Mac-
after the fact.
Listen, I don't think you understand. I do the Mitsurugi trap card like it was my job yesterday.
But this deck is truly incredible. Yeah, you Maximus me, and I looked at my extra, and I was like, can I get any value from any of these? And I saw Aggregator, and I was like, nope. And I looked at Nova, and I read it, and I squinted my eyes, and I went, well, it has to be in my possession, so surely that doesn't work.
Yeah, because it would if it was on the field, it would say card you control.
That is true.
No, this came up a lot because back when I was playing Cyber Dragon, it was like the tail end of what format was that? People were still playing like normal summon Alistair stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
Invoke Dogmatica.
So I would keep dumping Nova. It was great.
But I don't know if you still I just don't know even in that world if you still play Macabre because like I just don't know if it comes up enough because like if an average like a good player you're never gonna actually get to trigger it because they're not gonna wait till you summon Nova. That's it.
I think
Yeah,
there are
it's
a lot of bad players.
I think it's one of those things you have to play for like round 1 through 6 of a YCS, and then like it doesn't come up after that.
Yeah, the extra deck, it's not like the extra deck is tight either. Like I've seen a lot of Crystron lists that are just playing like Bing Bing the Synchro Clown, and it's like a level 7 who like bounces a guy on summon or something, and it's like not even a machine. It's like you can really just play a bunch of stupid garbage in the extra deck.
Yeah, they're playing a Samurai Destroyer. I like that.
That card's actually good. You do need to play that card.
Yeah, that's
Because,
true. It's your nib insurance.
Yeah, it's Tristalos nib insurance. But yeah, I think right now the deck is very unsolved. I'm waiting. I've been tinkering obviously, but I'm waiting for like some good player to put out a list. I know Treff is once again returning his tried and true pattern of Masterclass Turbo. And he announced it, but he didn't show us a list or anything. I assume that will be locked behind the paywall.
Yeah, you'd probably think so.
So
He did a masterclass for Ryzeal before the YCS, and then played a different Ryzeal deck.
That's awesome. So I realize I've been saying this is like engagement farming, but genuinely, if you have like silly ideas about Cristrons, like please let us and other people who would check know.
Fiendsmith Crystron.
Yeah, the deck has
that doesn't work.
No, I know.
the deck has a lot of options for the synchro pool. It's just that you have to either play under the machine synchro pool, or you have to go through like an Excel synchron. And doing that requires you have to like use the Tristalos and make the Excel synchron, and then have like a third body. And I feel like if you do that, it's usually not worth it. Like at that point, you could have just like if you had like say Tristalos and a level 5, you can do that, and you could summon like a you could summon like a I don't even know like a Chain Ying or like a Chaos Angel. No, wait, that's not true. A Chain Ying, I guess, is the only thing I can think of. Or you could just make Quarian Gandrax and banish 3. It's like I can't think of a reason why. But I've seen a lot of lists playing Excel Synchron, so there's probably a reason.
Yeah, I think it's just for level modulation, but I don't know why specifically.
It only level modulates if you play a Synchron card. The only other reason I can think of for like playing a 5 is if there's a reason for you to use your Tristalos, but like there's nothing for you to make with it, then you can try to summon a level 5 synchro so that you can dump a 3 for follow up. But every list is playing Amatrix for that reason, I think. So that also I can't think of a reason to be playing 2 5s.
I like the idea behind Crystron, especially because it's all water, so you play around Bestials like functionally like incredibly well. But you do lose it to the same stuff that Malice loses to out of the board.
I think game 1 it's very well positioned. Like the hand traps game 1.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Ash and Imperm are kind of awkward into the deck sometimes, and it genuinely just plays really well into that kind of interaction.
It plays very well game 1, and it also plays very well when going first. So it's pretty primed to like win the game 1 and then win the game 3. Crystron, at least I have a long and storied history with Crystron. So like when I played it in Duel Links like 10 years ago I don't even know. But it used to be like a cool synchro toolbox deck. You could make like a powered Inzectron or something. But nowadays it's mostly just like Dawn Dragster or Quarian Gandrax. And I think it would be cool if there's a way to deck build around that, but I have not seen anyone do it.
Eli, one quick thing for the general audience. The first time that I ever met Eli, he was playing Cristrons just like as his side deck to Dragon Link, and I'm very happy that Cristrons are getting legacy support and more days in the sun for you.
Dude, this deck is awesome. My first locals I ever went to, it was because I had pulled like I forget exactly. I think it was a Foxy Tune back when that card was like $40 or $30. So I was like, well, I have to sell this. So I went to locals with my Crystron deck, and I went and I sold it. And I played Krystrons. And the first game I played against was someone on Dinomorphia.
Oh no.
That is an
Uh,
unfortunate
so-
experience.
No, it was awesome because I went first. So
okay.
I end on Hulk Citri, and he sets 5, and he goes to pass, and I go Hulk effect. I summon Shooting Riser. I change Shooting Riser to be a 5, or wait, a 4, and then I use Citri. I synchro with a 3 engrave. I make Amatrix. I go Shooting Riser effect. I quick synchro into Phoenix, which wipes the back, which banishes all spell traps of the field in graveyard.
Wait, that's awesome.
It was awesome, and then he forfeit the game. And his friend was like, "Dude, did you just lose to Crystron?" And he was like, "Yeah, he wiped my back row."
Whatever line that was, keep it in the back of your pocket because Dinomorphia has been doing like not terrible at regionals recently.
Oh no,
Yeah,
really?
just Halky Fibrax, that's true.
Are they
Yes,
playing it
have
with
Hulk
the
Vibrax.
Ryuj stuff?
No.
Oh, they're just playing it
That's
here.
wild that little archetype did nothing.
It's not.
Have you read the cards?
Yeah, they seem like okay. I just read the field spell. I've got the
They
field
require you
spell
to play
first.
bricks.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah, the field spell is the best card I would say of that archetype. But it has that weird condition where you need the ritual. I think it's face up in the extra deck in order to do that summon, and sometimes you just don't get that.
it's one of those things where it's like you need to be playing in like a 60 card deck so you don't draw all the bad cards.
Interesting. So we're looking at a meta of 6 different Ryzeal variants, the fun Shifter Cybers deck, Hero topping an event because I took it, and then Dinomorphia at every table like 20 through 30.
Noah, do you want me to blow your mind?
Sure.
Dinomorphia won 2 regionals in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I guess the deck that makes the floodgates after they stop designing floodgate decks. Huh.
The last Bastion.
Yeah.
Are they playing anything new, or is it just Dinomorphia?
Nope, it's the same. It's the same. Wait, there's one card they're playing new. I forget what
I was
it
gonna
is.
say, is
It's
it the
like
one
some
that? Yeah, it's the trap. Doesn't it prevent like effect or battle damage or something if you banish
No,
it?
I forget the card. I think it's one of the Dominus, maybe. I forget. There's something new they're playing.
Interesting.
You guys ever get fencing fire ferrets?
Yeah.
You mean
No.
Bear Flames? Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
That's pretty much what we think about the format, right?
or at least
pretty
Suda,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the new Deckbuild Pack that was announced.
Alright.
So-
True.
If you give me
We can
3
talk about that.
seconds, I will win this match, and then I will put it on screen for everybody.
Is this the
No
one where
dragons.
those like what is it? No, you said we didn't know what was in them, so it's not that
So-
2500 archetype thing.
All right.
Do
so
we
this
know
is,
everything from Alan at this point?
No, we are still missing like if they make Malice and Ryzeal support. In fact, they haven't given us
Okay.
that.
Or more evil hero support? But all right.
They
Or
could give
Hero Support.
Ryzeal an Omni. It'd be great.
They could. I think we know like everything but like 5 or 6 cards. Because they just released the new. This morning we got the new Dominus card.
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to derail. You had it up.
All right, so the first one. This doesn't give the details, but I'm pretty sure this is a Dragon Fusion deck.
No,
called-
it does. Right. It says new theme, Dragon Tail, and then it says.
Oh,
underneath
Fusion Monsters.
it.
I see. I just had to scroll down. So this is a
New
Dragon
dragons.
Fusion deck because we've never had that before.
New
Not
Again,
once.
we should talk about this. The deck build packs in general have like a theming to them. There's always like a cutesy one, an anime girl one, a like mech like slash like dragon or beast looking one. I don't know.
We are
It
going to
seems
talk
like
about the anime girl one. We're going to get to that one. So yeah, they got the dragon archetype. It is Eli will probably look at it for like 20 minutes, not play it for 6 months, and then when they release enough support to make it good, Eli will play it.
New dragons.
This is going to go in Rico's branded deck. It's going to go in Ryan's branded deck. It's going to go in all those branded decks. Branded Fusion's going to be a 1 card for another whack-ass structure. All right. Anyway, it looks fine. He's just a dragon.
I hope they are linkable.
This one, I actually do kind of like this one. This one's called the Yummy archetype. It's synchro monsters, and then they are all light beasts, so they might synergize with the new AFD support.
I was about to just say, yeah, and Alan, we all did like the new like AFD cards, and they may actually work with this. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah. This guy is a claw machine. I got pointed out in the in Jeff Jones's podcast. It's a claw machine. It's grabbing like the treats. There's a crab up here. I think I like this archetype.
It looks cute. Again, this is the cutesy archetype of the
Yeah.
deck build set.
And I think it's incredibly bold of them to not include a third archetype in a deck build pack. I think it's incredibly, it's actually like, I think the alternative was actually quite devastating. I would not have encouraged that. All right, let's scroll down. So this one's just Xyz monsters, a strike down evil and villainy that spreads in the darkest shadow. It is the Ripper archetype, maybe K9 archetype. It looks like it.
K9, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let the art speak for itself.
Listen, this one looks super cool. It's got this one. The issue is this looks like a VS thing where like the guys look so cool and then the deck to me is so not good.
Do we know what it does?
No, we have no idea what it actually does. We just know like the general theming. That's it.
I've got a suspicion that it's kind of gonna be similar to Zodiac or Ryzeal.
Hey, if some of them are 4s.
You know, actually, K9. It might be level 9 Xyz or rank 9s because it's called K9.
Generator support, baby. Generator support.
Generator support. We're gonna see a generator top. I don't know. They're fine. I think I might look into this one. I just like the idea of the look at this guy's eyes. Anybody who's ever had a cat knows that look.
So, guys, I don't want to derail the total conversation.
Oh, because we've been so good about staying railed. Go on.
You know, Sam put a adventure Crystron deck profile in the group chat.
Good lord.
Listen, this goes back to what Eli was saying, because like you can play Terror Top to get to a starter, and if you already have a starter, you can just use it to insulate your combo, which is the adventure cards, which is kind of neat, honestly.
Okay.
If serves double purpose in that scenario.
I'm scrolling through it right now.
But then where does your non-engine go? And you have to play the adventure engine.
Why you dare shit talk the
still a
adventure
good
cards?
card.
The adventure cards are so cool.
They are.
You add like
They are the
3
lamest cards I have ever played in my life, man.
That is
Wow.
okay. Well,
You all need to take a step back. All right, the adventure cards are some of my favorite engine this game's ever had.
All right. There's some lore
this
here.
one outs a floodgate. Therefore, it is cringe.
In
In
a section of this video in all caps saying going over 40 cards.
In 2023, me, Noah, and Nick all go to Nats, right? And this is Noah and I's first Nats. And I was playing Math Mech. Noah and Nick were both playing Sprite in different varieties. I think Nick was on Runic Sprite for a little bit. Noah was on like Frog Sprite for a bit. And I had played Sprite before. And then they hit Math Mech and they hit Super Heavy, which are the 2 decks that I was playing. And so I wanted to play the same deck as everybody because I didn't really want to build a list. I just wanted to have somebody hand me a list and I would play it. We all played Adventure Sprite. And I don't think I've ever like walked away from an event thinking that a deck was worse than that deck that I brought that day. I had the Fur Hire cards. I could have played Runic Fur Hire Sprite. I didn't. And I'm so mad.
But then I almost day 2'd with it because the deck was just broken.
Yeah,
That
Nick
was
and I
so
went.
good.
Nick and I went like 2-3 and 3-3. The last thing that I want to really go over for this episode, and I'll just go back to Master Duel, I suppose, is the choice that a lot of Ryzeal, specifically Fiendsmith Ryzeal pilots, are doing when they are cutting Duodrive, which I think is super fascinating. Nick, do you know why they might be doing that?
The logic here is like very sound. Like it makes sense in theory. The idea is like if I make Duodrive, my opponent can Ash, Valor, Imperm, Ogre. Like there's so many things people can do to that card and just go, no, you don't get to do it. However, I would also make the argument that I think that's fine right now. But the second you don't resolve Duodrive, I feel like you're fighting an uphill battle going into like when you went first. Because if you don't resolve Duodrive, like it's just rough. And if you make Detonator plus Caesar pass, that's not bad. But like you lose to cards like Slayer's super hard because you don't have Cross, and you lose to other interactions. I think if you're playing like the Lubellian Fiendsmith version, where you're playing like Lubellian and Regain, I think that version very much cuts Duodrive and is very happy to not have that card. But I think the other version of Fiendsmith Ryzeal should still be playing Duodrive. There's no reason to not play that card. I think it's a little crazy. That's my own personal thing. I think it's a little nuts.
Yeah, as a person who's playing Malice, I love that they're cutting Duodrive. I'll just pistol everything. Uncontested. It's lovely. I do like the idea of you're just cutting out all the bad cards in your deck, all the cards that don't do anything on their own. Because like if you do that, what do you have in your deck that doesn't do anything on its own? It's Lurry that you could still normal summon and get the entire Fiendsmith line out of.
It's like it pretty much is just Paradise at that point. Like that on its own doesn't do anything or like non-engine.
Yeah, and like Paradise is still like the best send. off of like an ice or I guess it's just ice now, or you can
Yeah,
discard.
because
it
you
for
don't play
tracked.
Node. If you don't play Duodrive, you don't play Node.
Yeah, I mean, special summon ice seems pretty decent. Were you aware of this, Gerchek? Were you aware of this development?
I was not. I think I've seen a list or two that didn't run Duo Drive, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Anywho, because I did some testing with Fiendsmith Ryzeal, and I always played Duo Drive. I just think it's nice because even if they do, Ash Imperm, Effect Veiler, that's at least something that isn't going to get negated on the Fiendsmith side, or at that point then you can just go into like Detonator or whatever else, because typically if you're at the point to where you're going to make Duo Drive, I would assume at that point you have an X or something in hand. At least that's kind of how it always felt like to me in testing.
So
But
for Fiendsmith, so the normal line for the Fiendsmith version, if you're doing like I'm gonna just do the basic ice combo. If you open just ice, it's like ice summon X, add sword, do the entire Fiendsmith line, make Caesar, summon sword from hand, add X, summon X, make either Detonator or Duo. And from that point forward, you have nothing else in your hand, assuming that ice was the only card that you were starting with. That's the issue people run into. If they make Duo, it instantly loses to so many things. But if you make Detonator, he also loses to Imperm. So it's like a game of like reading, does my opponent have Imperm, or do they have all the other interaction points? And that's why people are just deciding to not make Duo at all.
I can see the rationale for it. I just don't know if I personally like it, because I think Duo Drive is a good card.
I think any situation where you're playing Lubellion is a better situation. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we hop off?
I think that was our main docket for the day. Again, as Suda just comes out for the pre-release this weekend, and we go into the actual format, like things are going to develop. Orlando's the first week of February, and that'll really like define if Mitsurugi Ryzeal is the deck to beat, or if Fiendsmith Ryzeal still has that top spot.
And someone will figure out what to do with heroes.
All right, guys. We the over under is 0.5. How many tops is hero going to get? Over or under 0.5?
A 0. No, under.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I listen.
Especially because it loses
want
to
to say
Wheels.
I want to say there would be one, but I'm with Noah. There's no way.
I want to say there's 0, so I'm happy with my decision.
Just bend the rules a little bit, man. Make the super poly. Print dark super poly, which counts as dark fusion. Don't make a super poly deck and then put the intended targets. Don't print on them. This can only be special summoned with not super poly, unless you go through so much work to do it.
I think I might have cut out like 3 instances of it, but Noah has tried to put us back on talking about heroes like 5 times.
I was thinking, it's so close. I keep looking at it. It's too close. Let me keep talking about this generously tier 3 deck.
All right, and I think that'll do it. Thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna win this match, and then we're gonna be done. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any feedback or anything, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And with that, we'll see you guys next time.
Keep evolving, Team Evo.
We're not. That's not going in.